Hey ladies, are you afraid of being rejected by men? Stay tuned and I'll tell you why I think you shouldn't be. Today's topic we're going to be talking about a woman's fear of rejection can lead to bad relationships. There's a feeling of acceptance that is associated with a high value or highly desired man. But being with a certain man to get respect from your girlfriends or get notoriety in the community is really a bad idea. It can actually lead to more of a disaster than anything else because the primary focus of the relationship is not really for the relationship. It's more to get clout. Men are usually automatically interested in a sexual relationship with a woman. However, most men will really not actually pursue a relationship like that with a woman. They may think it, but they won't actually act on it. A lot of the good men have a lot of things to lose, and then on top of that, they have goals they need to meet. And dealing with something that's not more of a sure thing is really not in the interest of a good man who has plans. So it's on you to actually make it a little bit easier for him. So if you have a man who's not interested in you as a person, he's not really interested in you. Just your ability to provide sexual fulfillment to him for that season. It could be a night. It could be for as long as he can tolerate being around you, or whatever other reason. Uh, Based on this is kind of like you would be really like the nice guy that women put into a friend zone, except you're not in the friend zone, so to speak. My fourth statement is probably going to shock you, and with a good reason. I want you to be shocked, but I also want you to remember it, okay? At least based off of a lot of things I hear on YouTube, hearing women's testimonies and stuff. But I believe that women, you guys, and men too, but for today, you guys really got to get comfortable with rejection. And the reason why I say you need to get comfortable with rejection is because rejection is really not a bad thing. It really is not. It's actually a good thing, and I want you to consider it a good thing, because it is a sign of the situation that you're currently in, and it could be just to get you out of that particular situation. Also, it could be a sign for you to work harder in a particular area. But I don't want you to be afraid of rejection, but I'd rather for you to use rejection as a tool for relationships and in life, and not as something that is considered that would actually make you be discouraged about certain situations, because it shouldn't look at it like that. Or it's ideal not to look at it like that. Be positive, not negative. So I would say rejection can be God's way of telling you to avoid it or helping you avoid a situation. It can also uh, allow you to be able to go with the flow of your life, because it can tell you which direction to go to or not to go to. So just if you hear a no, let that no be a no for that time. If it's a situation where you should avoid it. If it's a situation where you need to improve yourself, improve yourself. Men get reduced to the friend zone. On the women's side, you guys can get reduced to a booty call. Okay? It's the same thing, but it's a different result. But both of these are forms of soft rejection. They don't necessarily reject you as a whole, they just like what they want. It's kind of like an a la carte thing. I like you as a friend, but not as a intimate partner. Men's like, I like you as a sexual partner, but I don't want you as in a relationship or a friend or anything like that. Even though sometimes you can get a little bit of friendship out of it, but that little bit of friendship oftentimes it's just like a concession to be able to get back with you sexually again, to continue the relationship. It's just baiting you on. So, key to a relationship is someone that is interested in you as a person beyond what you can actually give them, whether it be physical, financial, um, emotional, whatever it is. Okay, they have to value you as a person and their time around you, and not what you can actually give them or what they can get from you. So, our next basically step we're going to talk about is what qualifies as a connection. Um, Sexual interest does not qualify as a relationship connection, it's a sexual connection. But in my thought processes, I believe that you got to connect with a person on multiple levels. It can't just be one. If there's just one or two things that you connect on, that symbolizes a weaker connection to a person, uh, which is an indication of that level of connection or that level of the relationship. So we're going to use the five finger concept. As you can see, I have five fingers on this hand, and I have five fingers on this hand. Okay? So the first finger is sexual attraction. All right? And so you have sexual attraction. You should have sexual attraction. The man should have sexual attraction. All right? So that's one. The second finger is your personalities should mesh, like being old friends. Even though you're only known each other for a short period of time, you should really just kind of connect with them. So that's two fingers. You should have this. He should have this. Okay? All right, so we got two fingers connected. Excuse me. The third finger is commonalities in interests. All right, you should have a commonality in interest. He should have commonality. This is not talking about, oh, I like football because he's watching football. You actually want to like football and to form that connection with him. Don't play a connection or act like you have a connection when you don't really have a connection and an interest that he has. And likewise, he shouldn't have one for you. You know, sometimes people do that to each other to gain more of a connection, but it's really weakening the relationship. Okay. Fourth finger is going to be having common goals. Common goals could be living in a particular state. Um, let's just say you're completing college. You want to own a house. You want to have kids. You have similar religious backgrounds, things like that. But it's common goals is something you want in a relationship, because the more you have in common with each other, the less likely you're going to split from a person. Okay, so what we want to do with having this five finger concept is really just have the strongest connection we can possibly have, but also it's going to be an indication of the level of connection you have with a person. So you can have a one finger connection with a person, you have a two finger connection with a person, 3 up to 5 in this description. So, but if you don't have it, if you only just have one, that is not a relationship you're going to want to be in. That is going to be kind of like your friend zone type of situation or acquaintance, if that. And the more fingers you have, the deeper the connection is going to be, as long as both of you guys are having that same level of connection with each other, which is important which brings up another important note, which is making sure you communicate. I've heard that women communicate more than men. I don't believe that. I believe women talk more than men, but women don't necessarily communicate more than men. Men communicate, but they don't necessarily talk. But when they do talk, they're doing straight communication. They want to know a specific answer to a specific question. That's it. We don't want to know about everything else that happened in the world. We just want to know that particular piece of information is direct communication. Whereas a woman will talk about everything else in the world, and we're like, well, what are you trying to say? And we can get lost in all the talking and not actually hear what you're trying to communicate with us. So I want you guys to be able to ask direct questions, but at the same token, you should be able to answer direct questions. A man wants to know, do you love him? If you say, well, I don't know, that's a no. Okay? So, the fifth finger is reciprocity. You hear a lot of men talk about reciprocity. I don't think women understand reciprocity and how it is important, how important it should be to you as a woman. Okay? Reciprocity would keep single mothers from being single mothers with men that don't want them. Okay? So, given that give and take in that reciprocity in a relationship actually is an indication that you should be in a relationship with somebody. When you have, I'm giving you a kid, and then he takes off, that's not a reciprocal relationship. That is a red flag, okay? You should do something for him, he should do something for you. It should just continue to go back and forth. Whenever you have one person stopping, giving back to the other person, that's when you start having issues in your relationships. It should never be one person always giving to the other person, okay? Because you'll basically exhaust that person, okay? That's the reason why single mothers are tired, because they're always giving to their kids, more than likely. So they're giving to the kids. They don't have any help. So reciprocity would be the kids actually helping the mom, okay? But even better than that, she would have a husband there to help with the situation, and then they could help each other work through it. He's working, making money, so the woman doesn't have to work overtime, get babysitting, all this other stuff, okay? Reciprocity. So that's the 5-finger concept. The first one is sexual attraction. Then you have personalities need to mesh, so friendship. The third one is commonalities and interests. The fourth one is common goals. And the fifth one is reciprocity in the relationship. And reciprocity is basically like a dance. And reciprocity is giving up something, but getting something in return that you want. So if you give something to another person, he should be able to give you something back that you want. Now that doesn't mean you ask for the moon and he's asking for the ice cream sundae. Okay? You gotta be realistic in what you want from another person. You can't ask for something that another person can't give or doesn't have the heart to give. Okay? You gotta to know that person well enough to understand how much they can give without hurting themselves, okay, but also loving you. If what you want from a person will hurt them, that's bad on you, and vice versa. A man should not ask something of you that is going to cause you pain, okay? And at the same token, it can be subjective, but I hope you kind of grasp the concept that I'm trying to tell you right now. You shouldn't do anything to hurt each other, but you should also ask for things that's within your power to provide, so to speak. Okay, power and desire to provide. All right. This 5-finger concept that I'm telling you about is meant to increase the possibility of peace in your relationship and also solidify commitment as well. Okay, because the more things that you have in common, the more connections you have. All right, the more likely a relationship is going to be maintained. Now, your relationship may not necessarily be a romantic relationship. It can just be a friendship, okay? But it still works in the same token. It just depends on which direction it's supposed to go for both of you. The man should want a romantic relationship, and you as the woman should want a romantic relationship. That is it, okay? That is it. Besides the five connections, okay? You have to be equally yoked in that regard, okay? All right. So there is, and I want you to hear this, and this is my thoughts, and I think it's important. It's an important thing to know, or for me to stress to you, is that there is no such thing as I can learn to love someone. Okay? There is no such thing as I can learn to love someone that you don't already love. There is no such thing as I can learn to love someone that you don't already love. If you have to make that statement, or if you're thinking that statement, you don't love that person. And by default, you should not try to pursue a relationship with that person, because you're going to end up hurting that person and yourself. And that's just going to be two hurt people that goes out and possibly hurt two other people. All right, so you're not helping anybody. I know sometimes you can feel lonely, okay, and you can sacrifice a relationship, and I don't think you should necessarily do that. I think you should find a friend, okay, but you're gonna have to really refrain from being in a relationship that you're not committed to, because it's unfair to the other person. My final thoughts are: get comfortable with rejection, because it is not a bad thing. Learn to analyze the connection, which is that 5-finger concept. 1 finger connection is not good. 5 is what you want, or more if you find other areas to connect in. But the more areas that you have connection in, the stronger your relationship is going to be, and the more likely it's going to be successful. It also tells you when the relationship is not going to be successful. Okay, so if you have one connection, sexual connection, don't try to have a relationship. Okay, now if the other person wants that, okay, that's fine. Yeah, at least y'all agree. Y'all on one accord. The problem is if you have too many of these coming together, the next guy who actually really wants to be with you, that might be a turnoff for him. Okay, and it might not be a turnoff for the reason why you think. It could be a turnoff because if you can be desensitized by having too much of something that's good, so to speak. Okay, so you don't want to do that before you get into the relationship with the person you really want to be in. And of course, whenever you get into a relationship, make sure that person feels the same way about you that you feel about them. So if you're gonna be friends, be friends. Okay, if you're gonna be romantic, be romantic, but let each other be able to communicate with that person and let them know you are. And I think what also I would add to that is, don't be afraid to be vulnerable in stating your feelings, but at the same time, be ready to take off if you have to, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're in love with somebody that don't love you. And in that regard, you wait for indications of mutual agreement in that particular area. And then once you have that, you verbally ask that person how do they feel about you. You tell them how, or you ask them first. And then if they don't feel the same way, you can say, all right, well, I feel much deeper But if that person doesn't feel that way, then it's better for you just to thank them for the friendship. Okay, don't crush the dude, trying to tell him you broke my heart and all this other stuff. Hopefully, you didn't get yourself to that point. Hopefully, at least you leave friendships in the wake, not broken hearts. Okay, and the same thing I hope guys do for you. But I want to stop there, and this has been When Nice Guys Retaliate, and we were talking about rejection and how basically rejection is not a bad thing, and you shouldn't be afraid of it. Thanks for watching.